Hey guys, it's Odaiba here, and at the time I'm recording this, the global version of the game, is actually currently in extended maintenance mode, and we still have to wait for a little while at least before the game goes live and we can finally do our summons for Halloween Lucia. But with that said, the information on the summon banners and the unit itself are already up, so in this video we're gonna take a look, and then later on I will share with you guys some of the observations we've had for Halloween Lucia in the JP Play environment. I'll share with you guys some of the really interesting things about the unit that you may not be able to tell strictly from looking at her skill set on paper. So before we dive into that, we'll take a look at the banners. So this time around, okay, so the good news is that we are going to be getting 10 free summons a day for the next, I guess 7 days, I suppose. So, you know, for free-to-play players or even like spenders, hey, anything helps, right? So that's something that you can look forward to. And then, apart from that, I'll leave all these for you guys to read later. I just want to go and dive into the Halloween Lucia part. So it looks like the banner this time around for summoning Halloween Lucia is a, let's see here, I believe it's a festival style banner, meaning that every single time you summon 10 pulls for Halloween Lucia, the summon bonus gauge will go up 5%, and once it's 100%, your next 10 pull will receive a guaranteed Halloween Lucia. So the good thing about these kinds of festival banners is that you actually have a pretty good chance of pulling the older Halloween units as well, because I believe they are usually offered on these kinds of banners at increased pickup rates. But I guess we have to wait until the game is live before we can confirm that for sure. Other than that, if you don't want to go through that route, you can of course go and do the usual 9-step summons with a free 10x summon on steps 3 and 6. And then if you really want to, if you have a bunch of paid viz sitting around and you really want to guarantee Halloween Lucia, it looks like this time they are offering us a 5-step. A total of 10k paid viz is required to guarantee the unit. And actually this banner is available for Shunak as well, if you're interested in that unit as well. So, well, for Final Fantasy 13, they also had something like this, except back then, the 10k paid visual summon didn't actually give you a choice between snow or lightning. Basically, you couldn't tell exactly what it is you would get until you do the polls, because it's random. But this time around, because it's, one unit per banner, so I'm at least happy that, for people who want to do this, for people who want to summon on this banner, at least they're not making us, suffer the fate of random chance Halloween Lucia or Shunak. So I'm at least thankful for that. And then for people who don't have the older Halloween units, you can also, if you have paid this, you can go ahead and drop 6,000 paid viz to get a random level 99 reissue Halloween unit of your choice. So that's pretty cool. And then there's this banner for 80 Halloween unit Mind Spears, which I believe is usually, if you have a lot of Mind Spears already, it's usually poor value, because I believe the units being offered on this banner are not at their increased pickup summon rates. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the Halloween banners. So now let's take a look at the unit herself. Halloween Lucia is a cost 70 UR rarity dark element unit, and her, what is this, TMR skill is something that is useful in PvE situations, such as in guild raids or even Trials of Reckoning. Not even sure if they're gonna add her as a bonus unit to Trials of Reckoning, which is still going on this week, but certainly for people who have her unit, you probably might be able to optimize your scores a little bit more with this TMR. Other than that, her master ability standard stuff for dark units, and then there's increased HP 5% for self, and most importantly, there is 10 AoE resistance for the unit. This is going to be important later on. And then for her stats, I'm not going to go over all the minute numbers, because for me, I care more about the performance of the unit on the battlefield itself. But the important thing to look at here that I'm concerned with are the resistance for the different damage types. Across the board, they're pretty good. Minus 5% for strike, you know, that's not so bad. And actually, if you equip the Nightmare Before Halloween vision card, this part even goes away, because that has, I believe, 16% strike resistance. And then for status ailment resistances, 50% resist on stop. It's pretty big deal. It's a pretty big deal. And poison is okay as well, I guess. Confusion 10%, not enough, but at the very least, you wouldn't need to worry about stop on this unit. Might mean that you could potentially leave out 25 stop resist on your Trust Stone, and, you know, put something else onto Halloween Lucia's Trust Stone set. Okay, so for the skills, we'll start with the support skills. So pretty straightforward. The one support skill that pretty much always you would leave on is Clandestine Reading, which gives you 12 defense and 40 spirit penetration. I believe 12 defense on the passive, and I believe by default the unit comes with quite a bit of defense to begin with. Let's see, is it not written here? I guess it's not. Well, in any case, I believe in the game, I've looked at it, it's like, I think you get something like 20 plus overall, and that's before equipping your equipment or aspers or anything of that sort. So that's pretty good. So you always want to leave this on. And then the second passive is choice between these three over here. If it's a map where you really need a lot of agility and you want to make the unit move forward, then you put on T floor. But other than that, I think most of the time you will want to pick either MAG up level 1 or Grimoire Keeper Mastery, because for the most part she's a magic attacker, so you really want her to optimize her damage as much as possible. Now for her counter abilities, there are 3 options you could go with, but honestly in almost every single situation you really want Hidden Resistance. This is a new counter ability exclusive to Grimoire Keeper, and it's actually pretty amazing. So first of all, it has 30% chance to activate, and whenever it activates when you take damage, what happens is Halloween Lucia will get hate -1, and she will also get up to 40 area resistance. So one thing to note is that the AoE resistance 40 here does not stack with her buff move, which is right over here. She has 15 on another buff move, so these 2 things do not stack. But all in all, every single time this reaction ability happens, you can basically count on Halloween Lucia to have up to 70 to 80 AoE resistance, and that's really huge, for reasons I'll explain later. So other than that, let's take a look at the main job skills. So I'm gonna start by talking about the move that she usually uses on turn 1, which is Spell or Fortification. This is an AoE buff for herself and allies. It will give Halloween Lucia a 7500 HP physical barrier, and it will also give all allies 15 AoE resistance and 15 defense for 3 turns. So after applying this, turn 2 is usually Attritional Protection, and what this move does is it will give Halloween Lucia Protect, as well as an ability to do AP damage to enemies, and also while the Protect is on, Halloween Lucia gains 50 defense debuff resistance. So these 2 are sort of like her bread and butter for in terms of defenses for the unit. And then now we move on to attack abilities. When her AP is low, she goes with Deconstruction. This is pretty much the typical low AP move that most units have. But her usual bread and butter move would actually be the AoE attack, which I believe is Swift End or Sudden End. Sudden End is the improved version of this move, and it's an AoE move that affects units up to range 5. And what it does is it will decrease defense penetration 30 for all the units caught in it, all the targets caught in it. Does pretty good damage, and if there are any targets killed in the KO'd in the AoE area, you will get some CT back. Up to 3 units for the improved version and up to 2 units on the regular version. Now, the main difference between the regular and the upgraded version is that only the upgraded version does not have activation time. So when you start out with a level 99 unit, this move, the AoE move, will actually have a activation cast time of 280, and only after you've gained EX jobs and upgraded this move, then it becomes really useful as a instant cast move. And of course, you want to pair this with her Limit Burst. Her Limit Burst, in case you haven't caught up, is a Asterisk style Limit Burst move. It gives the unit 3 turn follow-up attack effect, and then after that, then it does the damage 200%, and this move has additional hit chance, and it will absorb 30% of the damage dealt. But as you can see here, because it's a Limit Burst, you only have 1 cast of it, and also the move itself is range 4. So you would actually have to be in range as well to be able to get the Limit Burst off, whereas the AoE move is over here, range 5. So this is actually one of the weaknesses with Halloween Lucia. You really have to get in pretty close before you can do, most of the, or rather, you have to get in close before you can use most of the really powerful effects. Now, other than her AoE move, for single target attacks, oh actually I forgot one, there's one more AoE move she has, and that's Unhappy Ending. So this is a straight line AoE move that affects up to 3 targets in a straight line, and it's a guaranteed hit move that also reduces counter chance by 100 completely. This means that reflex and other reaction abilities on the targets will not be activated at all, and it does pretty good damage. So this is one of 2 guaranteed hit moves that Halloween Lucia has. It has 3 casts on this, and the other one that she has is her level 120 move, Toad's Curse, which similarly is a guaranteed hit move, and it also reduces counter chance by 100. It does even more damage, and most importantly, it has a 25% chance to inflict the Toad status for 3 turns. So as you can see here, this move is range 4, which means that more likely you will actually see Toad's Curse being prioritized over what is it called? Unhappy Ending. And also because the range of this move is such that the target has to be within a straight line away from you, so you can't do any diagonal targeting. So most of the time this is sort of a backup guaranteed hit move, and then the main star of the show is really Toad's Curse. Now I believe I have pretty much covered all of the moves in the main job. Yeah, I believe so. Okay, so let's move on to the sub-jobs. For sub-jobs, of the 3 choices, I believe most of the time, as far as PvP is concerned, you would want to leave it on Grimoire Keeper. Mostly because of Archaic Healing, which is a pretty decent healing skill that's AoE in nature, so you can, heal a teammate next to you as well. And in guild battle, on the second battle, Halloween Lucia would be able to use this to, recover HP for herself and maybe one ally at the start of the battle. And then using this sub-job also gives you access to another AoE attack. This one has the chance to inflict confusion, which is pretty decent. But if there are a few situations I can think of where you might want to put on Black Mage or Thief. In JP right now, the Black Mage job has actually upgraded a few things. For example, Flare in JP right now actually breaks Magic Barrier. So in the future, if there's a meta where there are a lot of units with strong Magic Barrier effects, you might want to switch to Black Mage in order to counter that with Flare. And then if Halloween Lucia's AI works like Wrestling, there may be some instances where you want to put the subjob to Thief just so you can use Steel Heart with 50% chance to inflict charm. So this is a really good move for when you're fighting evade. When you're fighting evade units. So what happens is maybe sometimes in guild battle, let's say Halloween Lucia runs out of her guaranteed hit moves, and then she can no longer hit evade units. So what will happen then is more than likely she'll use Steel Heart to charm one of them, and then that charmed evade unit will kind of just finish the fight for you. So it's a very fringe situation, but I do see that, you know, there's a possibility that, you know, the Thief subjob might be used this way in PvP, and I guess of course in manual PvP it's something that is worth considering. Okay, so I believe that's more or less the full kit of Halloween Lucia. So let's take a look at what I've prepared for you guys in terms of notes for the unit. I believe it's right over here. Okay. You guys can't see this, but because I'm actually doing this on a single monitor, I actually need to move stuff around. Okay, so points that make Halloween Lucia stronger than on paper. So first of all, as it turns out, the HP barrier effect is really much better than we expected. For starters, if let's say you're fighting Lightning as Halloween Lucia, as long as you still have enough HP remaining on the barrier, what happens is if Lightning uses her AoE attack and it does 0 damage on the attack itself, the follow-up attack will actually not happen on Halloween Lucia at all. So that's one, you know, benefit to this kind of barrier versus the standard 3-hit physical barrier that most units have. And then the other thing also is that because of the barrier, because when, you know, the AI uses the predictive input to calculate damage, they will see that when, you know, a physical attacker is fighting Halloween Lucia, that the damage shown is actually 0 a lot of the times. In those cases, they will actually use single target attacks on any other unit nearby instead, because usually the AI will prioritize the target or the move that gives them the most overall damage. Well, of course, there are other circumstances as well, but for the most part, it's damage. And so that makes her extra tanky. Although, you know, to begin with, she already has quite a bit of defense. She has protect, and of course, she has this barrier. But now she's also not getting targeted. The other thing that makes her really strong is her reaction ability, Hidden Resistance, which, like I mentioned earlier, this move gives Halloween Lucia hate -1 on top of 40% AoE resist. But first of all, I want to talk about the hate -1 part. What this means is that whenever this ability happens, for the next attack, whenever an enemy has to decide if they want to, you know, hit Halloween Lucia with a single target move or if they should target another unit, because there's hate -1, this pretty much will mean that Halloween Lucia will not get hit with a single target attack at all. So the the enemy AI will pick either an AoE move, or if they want to go with a single target attack because that's more damage, then they will for sure target somebody else within their range. Unless of course Halloween Lucia is the only target that they can select. Then in that case, they might still attack her with the single attack moves. So I think let's change this. Let's go back to Votive Calculator a little bit. I want you guys to take note. So before the reaction ability actually happens, she actually, as a base level, she actually already has 45% AoE resist total after the Spell of Shooting ability. I think this is the button. So the way I calculated that is you have 10 on the master ability, you have 20 from a vision card, so that's 30 overall. And then from the skills, you have 15 on the buff. Now, this is before additional stacking that you can do. Like, for example, if you want to put pod, the pod equipment from Nia onto Halloween Lucia, then of course the AoE resistance will go even higher than that. So basically in general, for the first 3 turns at least, she already has pretty good AoE resist. But whenever her reaction ability happens, then that gets buffed up all the way to 70%, which, as you can imagine, is kind of amazing because, you know, in this game there's not a lot of effects that can penetrate AoE resistance. So what happens is, although this unit is designed to be very tanky against physical units, as it turns out in actual play, even against magic units, even when taking damage from magic attack moves, you can actually reduce quite a lot of damage. And she's also, you know, she doesn't just easily get killed off unless somehow the magic attack unit can land a single target attack onto Halloween Lucia. So that is the one weakness that you can't really protect against. And the other thing that's really strong about her is that her AP damage effect is actually super good in physical matter. You'll learn more about this when Alaya comes out, but let's just say the effect is really strong. And in Halloween Lucia's case, I believe that her AP damage effect cannot even be resisted at all. There's no such thing. I believe there's no such thing as AP damage resistance anywhere in the game on any piece of equipment, on any vision card, or, you know, as a passive on Trust Stones. So that makes it quite powerful if you can, you know, land it. And then in terms of actual team combinations, oops, I think I skipped a little bit. In terms of actual combinations that you can use Halloween Lucia in the game with, the one on the left side is more or less a theory craft, because right now in JP we are playing limited guild battle, so we have not yet had the chance to see Halloween Lucia perform at a high level in top guild battle in a non-cost limited setting. But a lot of players believe this is like the ideal composition for Halloween Lucia, because this way you have 3 very tanky units, and then you would put Helena's Black Rose Witch, Helena's TMR onto Darkfina, and then I believe on Gravel you put Leela the Bull's TMR. So what happens is he will then run to the other 2 guys and give them an agility buff. And then there's a physical barrier on Halloween Lucia, there's a physical and magic barrier on Gravel, and of course, due to the TMR, Darkfina will also have a barrier on top of Re-Raise, and you put the bow tie onto Darkfina so that she will take the bulk of the damage at first and protect Halloween Lucia, who is then, you know, able to go up ahead onto the enemy and just start bombarding them with all these AoE attacks. And in this configuration, you want to use Nightmare before Halloween as one of the main VCs, just so that you can get an amazing amount of damage from this. You probably also want to put Darkfina for 50% MAG up. And then for protection, we have Gavel's vision card. I think it's called a Loyal Follower. So these are what I would say are the recommended main vision cards to use with this composition. And then for the sub VCs, you can just use whatever you want, as long as Black Robe Witch Helena's VC is one of them. So we believe in JP right now, a lot of people believe this is a really strong composition, triple magic, and all of them are, you know, quite tanky to some extent. But of course, we have to wait about, I think, 2 weeks from now before we can find out for ourselves if, you know, this team combination is strong enough to stand the test of time. As far as things that we have actually tested, right now in Limited Guild Battle, cost 240, the popular team composition is actually Darkfina, Whisper, and Halloween Lucia. And I've actually, you know, so as an example, this is an actual team that was played on offense yesterday, and they did pretty well with 5 stars. The only reason they got 5 stars is because, well, as you can see, you know, there are certain weaknesses in the team itself. And you can, of course, lose to certain, magic teams, and also the change for Halloween Lucia's level 120 skill is not yet implemented at the time when, this was being played. So actually, at this point in the game, this team actually loses to Light Evade most of the time. It's unfavored. But after the change they made to the level 120 skill, we are expecting that this team will now become favored against Light Evade. And if you decided to use this team for, limited guild battle or class match, I believe the best VCs to use for it would be Govel's A Loyal Following, and then, Nightmare Before Halloween. And you probably want a physical agility vision card on Whisper. But really, this can be something else if you want. Okay, so okay. So with that said, let's move on to who should actually pull for the unit. So, well, this is entirely my opinion, but so overall, Halloween Lucia definitely feels really strong as a unit, especially for a cost 70 unit. But at this point, it's hard to say if she will end up being a top meta unit, the same way that Leela the Bold, the same way that Joker, and who else, Dark Feeder actually became. So Joker especially, we didn't know his potential until Leela the Bold came out. So there's definitely precedent for this. We don't know how good she will be at the very top end of the game yet, but for right now, two groups of people, or rather three groups of people, for those three groups of people, it might make a lot of sense. If you're someone who plays Dark anyway, regardless of the meta, then definitely you want to add Halloween Lucia to your collection, because she does something that you don't really get with any other unit. She does a lot of things that you don't get with any other unit in the Dark element, right? So definitely, if you're a Dark specialist, I can definitely highly recommend her. If you don't have Joker or Ruinstern, or basically if you're someone who is slowly branching into the Dark element, but you somehow already have Dark Fina and Grovel, for example, or even Leela the Bold and Dark Fina, then you might want to consider grabbing Halloween Lucia and just maxing her out during the Halloween period, because she can definitely pair really well with those two units to become a well, I don't know if she will end up being the top meta, but she's definitely quite good as a Dark meta unit. So she will perform quite well indeed. So the other situation I sort of see that Halloween Lucia would be really good at is if you are someone who just want to have access to a really good Dark team for limited guild battle or class match. So, for example, this is what we are actually using. A lot of people are actually using in JP right now for limited guild battle. And I believe the class match that starts today is also cost 240. So if you grab her, you can probably within the class match period put together something like this. And between stop on Dark Fina and Toad, the Toad effect from Halloween Lucia, and all the AoE damage potential, magic AoE damage potential, you can potentially beat a lot of the standard meta teams out there. So for these three groups of people, I think Halloween Lucia is definitely a very highly recommendable unit to pull for. But for everyone else, I think it really is better to just wait and see how the meta develops. At this point, I definitely do think that Halloween Lucia is really strong, similar to how Halloween Leela was in Wind. But the thing is, she's ultimately a cost 70 unit, and she has glaring weaknesses, right? So for example, if you apply a barrier break move to her, if it's a single target barrier break move, then it may not land on Halloween Lucia because you have a lot of you have the hit -1 on the reaction ability, and you have other means of sort of avoiding single target attacks for Halloween Lucia. But if it's a AoE barrier breaking move, then straight away, even for the team composition that I was talking about earlier, you have barrier on every single one of them. With a single AoE barrier break move, you could potentially break all of their barriers. So this is probably, I think, the biggest weak point of Halloween Lucia and these sort of compositions. So for now, if you're uncertain on if you want to grab Halloween Lucia or not, it's definitely better to wait for a bit and see if you want to, go ahead and pull for her before the period is over. Alright, so with that said, I think that will be the end of this video. Now, of course, I will continue to monitor her performance in both the JP and global servers and let you guys know if we discover anything that makes her really, really good against certain, top meta teams, or if we find some kind of combination of units that really makes Halloween Lucia, a top meta unit. So thanks for watching this video. If you're interested in more videos like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll try to put up more stuff and share knowledge from the JP server from a high-level guild battle perspective. Alright, that's all. Take care now, and see you guys next time.